Now, unless there's any other questions, I think the best thing, or the best way to start today is with a sense of wonder. And I wonder who's going to help you have that experience. Look around the room, and I think you'll find someone who's just meant to talk to you. Now, the way we're going to do this is now, actually 10%, perfect timing. I'll give you guys an hour to do this. It's half an hour each, so there should be plenty of time. Remember, if you guys want to have the steps, they're on page 56 of your manual. Shall we just run them through very quickly, just so you have a little conscious perception of what you're doing? Would that be okay with you guys? Yeah. Page 56. If you don't have a manual, just look over someone's shoulder and keep staring. So step one, very simple. Induce trance, get an emotion of wonder, excitement. Check with them what they want. But I like the idea of wonder. I like the idea of this, you know, for me, the metaphor, the image is the way I felt on Christmas Eve. We used to open presents at Christmas Eve because we're an Austrian household. So the way I felt on Christmas Eve, when I was all dressed up, waiting in my bed with my brother and sister, fit to burst, hearing the music downstairs playing, just waiting for that little tiny sound of a bell tinkling, which would tell us that we were allowed to come downstairs, right? That, to me, encapsulates what we're doing here. Now, you guys will have your own versions of it, so check with the partner what they want to call it and what the experience is, right? So, first of all, induce trance, get the emotion, intensify it, regress on it. You know, bounce back a few times. Each time you bounce back on the regression, remember to orient them. Get a sense of who, when, where, inside, outside, daytime, nighttime. You know, just getting a sense of what the actual environment is about. Enough that you can see they're in the experience, right? You saw that happening with James, did you not? Now, as it happened with James, you only bounced back once because the second bounce went straight into, you know, the place we needed to be, and so we did that. You're going to bounce back 2 or 3 times, and you're looking for an age range, like 2 to 8 years old is the ideal, but if he gets like, you know, early teens, that's fine too. But 2 to 8 is like the point where we are most impressionable and where we tend to collect the seeds that unfold on the rest of our life. It's called the imprint stage, right? Actually, it's 0 to 8, but it might be a bit difficult talking to someone who's like 0 years old, so keep it to 2 to 8. Does that make sense so far? So, the next bit is, let's just do this graphically as well. So you've just bounced back to the event somewhere in the 2 to 8 year range, maybe a little bit older if that's appropriate. And they're having an experience, and it's got a lot of energy in it, right? The problem is it fades at some point. So what you're going to do is you're going to put something at the beginning, before it will happen, when there's no energy, and at the end, rather than letting it peter out, this is what you're aiming to do, right? So the first time they have the experience, they'll just have the experience start to finish as it was, and no additions from you, right? It's just a getting in touch with the experience type thing. Make sense? Now, you get them to stand back as the big adult. So there's a dissociation. That's what step 3 is about. You dissociate them and say, adult James, look at that little kid over there, that little boy. Does he have a nickname? Nicknames are great because that's a great way of distinguishing the two. Look at that little boy over there. What's his name? It's Jim. And and notice how good it felt to have this experience. Because right now, we're still here, right? So adult James goes out and goes, yeah, that was great. And it was, wasn't it? Yes. It really, really was. So you're basically just setting the scene so that he can comment on the experience. The next thing you're going to do is you're going to create you're going to start creating this loop here. You're going to create an expectation in him, because he's the one who's going to create it all, that this whole process is going to happen. So you're going to ask him about what happened before this event that was like a nothing, like a, just humdrum, everyday type thing. But before they even knew this thing's going to happen. So you have not an anticipation of a good event, but just a nothingness to suddenly like, wow, this is a great event. Does that kind of make sense? It might be 2 minutes, it might be 2 hours, it might be a couple of days. It really doesn't matter. All right? So adult James is now seeing the experience and saying, yeah, I think it was about half an hour beforehand. So in this experience it was 30 minutes. He was doing what? coloring in, right? So 30 minutes before this happened, he was coloring in, and then somewhere in those 30 minutes something happened, and suddenly just the world turned to joy, right? And you kind of saw that happening. He gets to anticipate it as the adult because he knows it's coming. The kid doesn't yet. And this is where you give the first, if you like, gift, the first surprise. The kid gets to actually to enjoy the moment of being surprised all over again. He knows it's coming, so you now tell him, in a moment I'll count from 1 to 3, or whatever signal you want to give them. At that point, step inside, be the boy, be little Jim, coloring in the book, you know, humdrum, normal, everyday thing, not knowing that something wonderful is about to happen. And notice what happens when it does, right? So now, the little kid gets to be surprised all over again. He's coloring it in, time passes, suddenly, something really good happens. Do you mind if I share with them what it was? So for James, he's told me later. It was basically the little girl he was talking about, who's now a mother. Her mother arrived, in the back of the car they had a little hamster, and the little girl just gave him the hamster as a gift. I mean, can you imagine when you're 4 years old, 5 years old, 5 years old, and like your best friend comes up and gives you a gift out of nowhere, but it's also like a little animal. It's like warm and furry, and it's like, yeah, it's kind of special, right? So he's now going through the whole warm, fuzzy feelings, and he's enjoyed that, right? So now he's done the second time. The first time was just into the experience, adult, create the context, zoom through, come back to the adult. Now you're going to talk to the adult about the experience and say, hey, that's pretty cool, wasn't it? Right? So this is on step 4. Create a moment without the positive emotion. So step 4 is creating this moment. Step 5 is explaining to the adult that you're going to start in the boring part of the loop and go all the way to excitement or wonder or whatever it is. Step 6, you're actually doing the loop. So this is step 6. You step in, you're the child, you're re-experiencing the whole thing until the end. Then you get to step 7, where you get back to the adult. So the adult, okay, 1, 2, 3, be the adult now. Hey, how was that? Great experience, right? So now you're reframing the adult, and you're preparing the adult to let the little child know what's about to happen. So now it's like you get to have anticipation in the middle of boredom. Does that kind of make sense? So adult James talks to little Jim and said, hey, kid, something so cool is about to happen and you don't even know it. So now little Jim's got this sense of anticipation whilst he's coloring in, and you get him to experience that again. So now you step in here, but rather than being boredom now, which it already used to be, this is now filled with anticipation. So now it's anticipation that leads into the sense of wonder, right? He runs the whole loop, come back as an adult, and you ask him, how was that? Easy so far, everyone? Yeah? So, now he's going to meta comment. Every time he comments on it, where does his attention go? On the experience, which of course cements it in a little bit more, right? Now that you've done that, you're going to run the same loop several times, maybe 3, maybe 4. You know, if they start, you know, having light coming out of their skin, then it's probably the time you can start slowing it down, right? So the key is, they step in, first person, they have the experience, you know, anticipation, wonder, come back to the adult, comment on it, step in, anticipation, wonder, step out, comment on it, 2 or 3 times, maybe 4 times. Go ahead.
When Big James goes into Little Jim, this may be just a small point, but does he ever, he doesn't tell Little Jim what's going to happen, just that something is going to happen, right?
No, he can tell him what's going to happen now. So the first time he does it, when this is still boredom, Little Jim has no idea what's coming, and it's a surprise. From then on in, adult James is going to take Little Jim to one side and say, come here, I've got something to tell you. You're sitting here, you're coloring your book, and it seems like everything is just normal and maybe a little bit boring. Maybe raining outside, and yeah. But you don't know what is about to happen. It's going to be one of the best experiences you'll have. 50 years from now, you'll still remember it with, you know, goosebumps. That's how good it'll feel. He might even tell him what it is, you know. He might even say, a friend's going to come and give you something, and you're going to love it, right? Whatever it takes. The key here, the key suggestion is, tell Little Jim, so let's say we've got Little Jim here, right? Big Jim, James, tell Jim, everything he needs to know so that he realizes that this is about to happen, so he doesn't have to feel bored there anymore. Does that make sense? At that point, once little Jim understands it, he can step in, and now boredom has already turned to anticipation. And anticipation turns into wonder, and you come back to Big James, he comments on the whole experience, steps back in, does the whole thing again, comments on it, steps back in, does it again, and that's kind of the reinforcing cycle.
Can you turn around and show that, please?
Sure, absolutely. My apologies. Can you see that? So this was boredom at first. Then the first time he steps in, before talking to little Jim, they step in, boredom, wonder, wow, that's great. Adult, come back, 1, 2, 3, you're the adult. Hey, how was that? That's fantastic. Little Jim didn't know what was coming, did he? No, but he liked it, yeah. Okay, so now, I want you to bring little Jim out. I'll come to you in a second. I want you to bring little Jim out, and I want you to have a chat to him. Tell him whatever he needs to know so that he realizes that an amazing experience is just waiting around the corner for him. Then the person does whatever they need to do. They might just say, hey, something really cool is going to happen. And the kid goes, okay. Or I might say, something really cool is going to happen, and it's this. Each person will do it differently depending on who they are and how they understand it, right? The key thing is, little Jim now is going to be the way I was at Christmas, standing in my room going, I can hear the music. Any minute now, the bell's going to come. It's going to come, right? So the excitement is already building where boredom used to be. Then you step in, actually have the experience, feel the anticipation, run through the wonder, step back outside, and now you get the adult to comment on the experience because he processes at a different level saying, how was that? That was great. Do you do it again? Well, yes. Well, okay. Go back inside, do it again, come on through, come on out. How was that? That was even better. You mean it's getting better each time? Yes. Do you want to do it again? Yes. Well, okay. Step inside, do it again, all the way through, come back out. How was that? Fantastic. How are you feeling? Amazing. Little Jim's doing pretty good, isn't he? Sure. One more time? Why not? Okay. Get inside, do it all again. Are you glowing yet? Oh, yeah. Right? You got that cycle so far? We're not done yet, but you get that cycle? Go ahead, Rashid.
Couple of quick questions. The question that was just asked from this gentleman about you don't have to necessarily tell them the experience. If you did tell them, if little Jim was told the first time that James stepped into him that you're going to be getting a hamster, wouldn't that hamster sensation be the one that you're imprinting as opposed to the anticipation on the wonder of what's about to happen?
You know, it may be in your case. The key thing is that the instruction to the adult is tell little Jim whatever he needs to know.
Oh, okay.
Whatever he needs to know. Let's face it, you know what little Rashid needs to know because you're him, right?
Okay.
So if he needs more information, you'll give it to him. If he needs less information because part of the mystery is part of the magic, you'll give him less.
Okay.
The point is you're telling him what he needs to know, and all that matters is that little Jim is just sitting there ready to pee with excitement, right?
Okay.
That's the context you're creating.
Got it.
Make sense?
It does. On step number 6, is that when the first time that adult James is stepping into little Jim?
Exactly.
Okay.
So that's basically before, whilst this bit here is still empty. So, like, there are three different ways this happens, right? And they happen in succession. Phase number 1 is on the first point of regression. They just have the experience as it was, right? No bells, no whistles, no expectations. It's just like I'm there, I'm having experience, and it's great, right? It's just as it was. The second time they do it, you've already done all this coaching bit here with the adult, and they're going to start from a different point. And this point is basically boredom, right? There's nothing going on. It's like humdrum everyday activity. So the second time they do it, so the first time it's just pure experience. The second time they do it, they're going from a place of boredom and get the surprise of having a wonder come as well. So they don't, although the adult will anticipate it, the kid doesn't because they're still separated in the terms of neurology, right? The third time he does it, it's going to be filled with a sense of anticipation, a sense of wonder. Why? Because the adult has now coached little Jim to let him know what he can expect, and hence improve the experience as a result of it. Make sense? So if you want to represent it graphically, I'll do it on this side so we have a clear representation of it. sequence 1, sequence 2, sequence 3 to, say, 5. Like this, right? And each of these sequences is separated with a chat to adult James. That's what separates each one of the sequences. And this one here will loop because it'll be repeated. We'll just do it this way. This one here will repeat it times, say, 3. Does that make sense to you guys? The top one is the first regressing them. It's the very first regression orientation phase. So that's the orientation phase. Second one, you've already had to chat to an adult once, and it's just boredom through to wonder. Clean, without any interference. The third one, you've had another chat to the adult. This time the adult's had a chat to the child also. So technically, between these two, you have 2 players. And then from that point onwards, it's just the adult again, right? So we have adult only here, and here we have adult and child. So he's coached the child, as a result of which you now have anticipation or a building sense of excitement where boredom used to be. And then you run that loop and you bring back the adult and go, how was that? Great, come back in, do it again, run through, how was that? Great, come back in, do it again. 3-4 times to really build up the experience for them, right? Because, just to ask, to confirm, it's kind of nice when it builds up and builds up and builds up, right?
I can still bring it back.
Exactly. So, everyone good so far? Go ahead, can we have a microphone up here?
The segue between I'm beginning to feel like the village idiot here, so just please bear with me. Okay, we're going through the point, we go through the aggression, we go through the phenomenal experience that the child has. Okay, child just had this phenomenal experience. Segue, back to adult.
Yep.
How does that segue occur? In other words, how do you...
Oh, very simple. Just say, okay, in a moment count 1 to 3, count of 3, be the adult. 1, 2, 3, adult James. That's kind of cool, wasn't it? It's just pure instructions, a direct instruction.
Okay,
right?
Segue. All right, now, when you're with the adult, okay, this is the big down.
So now we've had this. We've just gone to here. We're with the adult now. Okay.
Okay, we're with the adult. We're then going to take the adult back to a point previous to the special event.
We're not taking him anywhere. We're asking him to remember this event here. Remember. So we're not doing a reification. He's not stepping in. We're just saying, here's the language. If you want just a pure language for it, there's no magic in it, just to give you the instructions, right? Hey, adult GW, that was a pretty good experience, right? That was a pretty good experience, right? Sure. Now, you know there was a time before this happened when like everything was normal, it was kind of humdrum, maybe a little bit boring, right? He goes, well, of course. Well, give me an example. When was the time before he knew this was going to happen, when he didn't even realize how much of a wonderful experience was waiting for him around the corner? How long ago would that be? Would it be like a few minutes, half an hour, a couple of days? Let me know. How soon before that? So he goes, well, I think it was, 30 minutes. Great. Can you tell me a little bit about what's going on 30 minutes before this? Well, little GW is riding his bike in the forest. So little GW is in the forest riding his bike. Yeah. And he had no idea that something really cool is about to happen. No. And it's 30 minutes before that, right? Yes. Great. So now we finish this bit. We're about to do this bit. So doing it sequentially, this is step 1, this is step 2, this is step 3, right? Great. In a moment, I'll count from 3 to 1. Count of 1. You are little GW, riding your bike, having no idea what's about to happen, and you get to experience the surprise and wonder of this for the very first time. Are you ready to do this? Yeah. Okay, 3, 2, 1. Little GW. I usually give him an extra tap or something to suggest that something's happening. 3, 2, 1. Little GW. What are you doing? I'm riding my bike. Are you having a good time? Oh, it's okay. Okay, well, time's passing now. Notice what happens. Wow. How's that feel? Great. Okay, 1, 2, 3, adult GW. Now we're here. 1, 2, 3, adult GW. Hey, how was that? That was awesome. Did little GW have any idea what's going to happen? No. But it felt great, didn't it? Yeah. Okay, here's what you're going to do now. You're going to get little GW in front of you, and you're going to have a chance to chat to him and explain to him what's about to happen, so that he gets to realize that something wonderful is about to happen. He doesn't have to feel bored anymore. Something wonderful is about to happen. Can you do that? Sure. Just go ahead and bring him back up now and explain it to him in whatever way you need to do that to make sure that little GW really understands that something amazing is about to happen. You know what I mean by that, right? Sure. Go ahead and do that and let me know when you've done that. Great. We've just had this chat here, right? So we just had a chat here. Okay, so adult GW. Now that that little G, let's call him little G just to make it easier, right? Now that little G knows what's about to happen, notice how excited he is in riding that bike 30 minutes ago. Yeah, he's pretty excited. Do you want to step in and find out how the whole thing feels? Sure. Okay, 3, 2, 1. Be little G. Okay, little G, what are you doing? I'm riding a bike. How do you feel? I don't know. I feel strangely excited. Really? Wow, fantastic. Time passes. What happens? Oh my God, is this great? 1, 2, 3. Adult. How was that? It was amazing. Did he know it was coming? Kind of, yeah. Did he like it? Yeah. Was it better this time? Sure. Okay, do you want to do it again? Absolutely. 3, 2, 1. Little G. You know, what are you doing? Riding a bike. Okay, time passes. What happens? It's amazing. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Adult G. W. What's going on now? How was that? It was even better. Really? You mean it's getting stronger each time? Yes. Little Jim is, now you start weaving implications if you want. You mean little Jim is realizing that he can, you know, he doesn't have to be bored anymore. He gets to be excited about the good things that are coming. Yes. You run the loop a few times. So far, so good? We're not done yet. But it's not complicated, it's just lots of little steps. Remember what we talked about on the very first day? If it's a little complex, it's not really, it's sophisticated, and that just means doing lots of little steps one after the other. So we're just doing 5 steps in sequence, right? You can do this. Or not. I mean, you tell me. There's a question over here. Can I have a microphone, please?
So, do you ask them for that particular emotion and experience before you put them into trance?
Sure, exactly.
What if they can't recall?
Well, they don't have to recall it, they just get to choose it.
Like, for example, what if they're looking for love, okay, the emotion love,
Mm-hmm.
but they can't think of a time where they truly felt
They don't
that?
have to, because
Okay.
you're talking to the wrong part of the mind.
Okay.
They only get to choose it, it's the unconscious that will deliver.
Okay.
That's what the trance is for. The trance is so the unconscious gets a chance to deliver whatever the emotional experience is that they asked for.
Okay.
And incidentally, I advise you to stick to something like wonder or excitement or anticipation, partly because if you walk through the world in the total state of love, this is great, right? Different people have different reactions to it. It may be appropriate and it may not. Whereas just turning bored, it's true, right? Whereas turning boredom into like anticipation of something great happening, like a sense of wonder or a sense of excitement or fun. Fun's a great one, right? My favorite ones are wonder and fun because it's a great way just to go through life, just having fun. And like, I wonder what's going to happen next. I don't know, but it'll be good. Does that make sense?
It does. It does. Do you? Okay. So, and then once you have them in trance, is when you.
And then you say exactly like you did yesterday. In a moment, you're going to experience a wonderful sense of fun, right? Let me know when it starts. Okay, great. So now you've had some fun. Focus on it. Notice what happens. Is it getting stronger yet? Yeah. Great. Now follow that sense of fun back. It's what we were doing yesterday. It's exactly what you were doing yesterday. It's no different at all. We're just adding this at the end of it, right?
Just a quick question about, you said experience and emotion. Can it be an experience, like if you want to constantly experience victory? Is that something appropriate or no?
Hey, there's an emotion that you experience when you feel like that you're winning, right? So sure. The key thing is if that's how you want to feel, like, right, let's put it this way. There's a thing in the self-improvement industry that says, you know, if you can change your emotion anytime you want, you can always be on fire and fired up and all that sort of stuff. Great, but the problem with that is your body's going to be drained. You can't be on full pumped action 24/7, right? Ask a soldier, ask a Navy SEAL. They need a break too. You need downtime, right? But who says that the downtime has to be boring? Do you see where I'm getting with this? So by all means, you can have a sense of victory. It's just make sure that you're not just saying sense of victory is now the whole thing I only ever experience. It's just that when you have a downtime, you know that a feeling of victory is just around the corner. Does that make sense to you? So it's more about adding quality to a part of your life that you need to have happen anyway, which is the natural rhythm, you know, up times and down times. So you add a quality to it so the downtimes aren't boring, they're just, you know, peaceful, or a sense of like something cool is going to happen, but I'm going to chill out for a while whilst we're doing this. So that when the up times come, you get to enjoy them more. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. If I can just share something personal, then maybe
Please.
that might... there's constant battles going on, and I've always had that mentality of that I'm going to win. But there's that naysayer, what you call the critical factor, I call the naysayer, which tends to sometimes come up and sabotage, and we've all experienced that.
Okay.
About 3 years ago, I kind of mastered how to deal with that naysayer.
Great.
And it wasn't by talking or tuning him down. It was actually annihilating him and torturing him and
Okay.
putting IVs in him and putting gasoline and lighting it on fire and destroying him. The problem,
Right.
you can't kill him, but you can cause a lot of pain.
Okay.
And so I got the naysayer to disappear, and less and less did he show up.
Okay.
Now what I found is sometimes he'll go a couple of weeks without showing up, but when he comes in, it's very covertly, so I don't even know he's there.
Right.
And then until a week, 2 weeks later, I realized my mindset is because of that damn naysayer that's been hiding, and then I annihilate him again. So
Sure.
that constant state of victory mindset, that's why I
Okay.
was trying to, so that...
Well, let's just take a little bit off topic here, just because you've opened something else up here, and then we'll actually end up doing the exercise at some point, honestly. The first thing to realize is that you're now going away from what the purpose of this is, which is a clean state of something. Boredom to wonder is just something which has no associations to it. You're now actually asking for something, a therapeutic piece of work. I'm trying to stay out of something therapeutic into something called generative work, purely because that way we don't have to deal with anything negative yet. We're just getting used to the pattern, right? Hence, stay out of that for now. Not that you can't do it, you can absolutely do it, but it means you do other things with the other parts of it, which we're not ready to do yet. We're just building training wheels here right now, right?
I didn't want to lose that, so I appreciate that. Thanks.
And the other side of it is also, and this is just as a personal, you can take it or leave it as you wish to, but consider actually, instead of having to destroy something in a constant battle, how about having a life in which your naysayer actually becomes your biggest supporter? Just think about that.
I've gotten to the point where he begs not to be destroyed.
But you're still putting a lot of energy into fighting it, rather than having him sitting there going, how else can I help you? Just consider that as a possibility. I'm not saying you have to take it on board, and I'm not saying you have to do anything with it, but just consider how your life would be if he's constantly bugging you about how to improve your life, rather than having to fight him. This is a personal opinion, that's all. You have lots of hypnotists who might, have a chat to you about that. So you get this. This is not complex. It's just lots of little steps along the way. But each step is simple to do, right? And it's in the book, right? Okay. Next comes the final stage, which I think is charming for me. You've done 3 or 4 of these loops, right? You get back to the adult, and this time you do the integration. You basically say to the adult, hey, that was great, fantastic experience, great. Now you add the reframe. You know that little Johnny was about to have a wonderful moment when he was feeling bored, and he didn't have any idea it's going to happen, did he? No. But he does now, right? Because you explained it to him. Yeah. Now, and this is true. You know that little kid has got so many more moments of wonder, amazement, joy, and fun and ahead of him in his whole life that he has no idea are going to happen to him. You know because you've had them. But he has not a clue of all the wonderful things that are going to happen to him, does he? No. Well, how about you have a little chat to him, and bring him in and tell him how great he's done, and remind him that just when things seem the lowest, just when things seem to be totally boring, that amazing things are waiting for him just around the corner as he's just experienced. So now you're taking the experience he's had, now you're taking the experience you just created for someone, and you're doing this. So you're using the way people create problems to create solutions now. Does that make sense? So and then they'll do the whole, just explaining things to the little kid, and you say, okay, now give him a big hug. This is a big emotional thing. Bring him back and bring him inside, and let him grow up inside you. So that's what the integration phase is about. Reintegrate, give child a big hug, let him melt inside the body, bring him inside. And now you start counting him up through the ages. He was 4 years old, 5, 6, and all those things you're playing, 7, 8, Christmases, birthdays, 9, 10. Throw in general experiences that people have normally. Plus, the ones that you bounce through on the way to the final destination anyway, because you know about those, right? So you just go all the way through into the present age. At the end of it, they're back in the room feeling, in the present moment, feeling totally great. You have a little chat to them there again. You maybe do a little bit of a blitz to just reinforce it. Bring them out, and they will be walking on the ceiling. It's not difficult, is it? Slow it down so you have time to do it all. The steps are here. The steps are in your manual written down. The steps are here visually if you need them. And you've done each individual piece at some point already, right? You guys okay with this?
So you're actually reframing the adult twice on the anticipation part, and then that he's going to experience something one in the previous steps, and then another time at the very end before he grows up. So you reframe twice that he's going to have those experiences.
So this one is reframing the kid to actually have the loop. So it's for one experience. Once all this is done, at the end of it, as you're reintegrating him, you're doing it for the whole life. You're basically doing this. You're saying to him, essentially, do this with every moment of boredom for your whole life, because every time you feel bored, that means that a moment of wonder is just around the corner. Does that make sense? They're saying, take the experience you had right here and put on all the moments when you're normally bored or just humdrum. So it makes everything boring special, even though they don't have to be fully pumped with it. They're just going to be like, okay, it's quiet now, but something's going to happen. And I'm not sure when, but it's going to happen. Make sense? So you have that sense of anticipation in the back of your mind, always knowing that good stuff is coming. Don't you, James? Yes. Okay, guys, we've done a lot of speaking, so you guys are a little bit more quiet and down and stuff like that. So what I recommend you do is have a quick break, grab a glass of water, go for the loo, whatever you want to do. Come back in. Now, we've got just about enough time to do one round before the first break. So do one round, then we'll have the break, we'll do the other round, and then we'll see if we can carry on today, because there's still quite a bit of stuff I want to show you guys. Is that cool with you guys?